We've had another strong earthquake. This time it's a magnitude 6 today, and it hit Iceland on the north side of the island. And quake swarm of 6 earthquakes are still ongoing. We just had one just now. As we know, Iceland sits on the tectonic plate of the mid-Atlantic ridge. It's right here. And the quakes that we had today are in the northern part, right in the middle of where we have the separation of the North American plate from the Eurasian plate. As we know, Iceland is growing. It's growing very, very rapidly every year. It's splitting, and we're going to see some nice pictures of what's going on there in the maps as well. And here we are in Wikipedia. This is a map that we saw before, but look at this. This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge passing across the Pinvelier National Park, popular tourist destination. Look at this. Look at this split here. This was, of course, once at one point joined. You can understand how this is rapidly growing. Now let's go back to our maps. This is on Sizewell Berkeley. This is the past hour. This one is just the past hour. And this, what time was this? Okay, 1957, 21. And this was 2 hours before. So as you can see, this is basically just about the same time. All of these happened just about, well, this one was earlier, but most of them happened just about the same time. This one was about 2 hours before. And this is, as we said before, in the area of in the middle of Iceland, where we have this is, as you can see there, that ridge right there is where we have our magma. There's magma under there. Very nice to see it. You can see that right there, going this way. Reykjanes Ridge, Reykjavik, is where most of the people live around here. And there's only, from what we saw yesterday, there's only about 210,000 people living in the whole of Iceland. And that was established, populated around 900 AD, from what they think. So this is the area of what we're seeing. We also had another earthquake all the way down to the bottom. What time was this? Okay, that was yesterday. Okay, that was about a day ago. So we have had a lot of activity here on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. We don't really look at that because there's nobody living there except for Iceland, of course. But it's a volcanic island. And these are all the volcanoes on Iceland. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, I don't know, maybe 100, who knows. It's a volcanic island, as we know, right there. Iceland, the land of ice and fire. Everybody there has, all their energy needs comes from geothermal. Isn't that something? Iceland, the island of Iceland, is a true paradise for volcanologists. Few places on Earth's geology and human history are so closely connected to volcanism is on Iceland. The island owes its existence to a large volcanic hotspot sitting on a mid-ocean ridge, a unique setting. The plate boundary between America and Eurasia tectonic plates crosses Iceland to form the south to north, and spreading process can be directly measured and observed on land, as we saw before. Okay, one of Iceland's most active volcanoes, Grímsvötn, is that in here? A lot of them were not, here it is, this one here. The Reykjanes volcano, I don't know if that was a little while ago. It was erupting. Current status 1 out of 5. Reykjanes volcano, Iceland in the south, where the Mid-Atlantic Ridge merges into land. It forms a vast area of many eruptive fissures, lava fields, hot springs, and mud pools. In 2000, large earthquake lowered the water level in the lake by 5 meters. Seismic system, where the Mid-Atlantic Ridge rises above sea level, comprised a broad area of post-glacial basaltic crater rose. Mount Thorbjorn volcano, Reykjanes Peninsula, again, that's in the area of the south. But as we saw before, there's so many volcanoes there. The whole area is volcanic. Now, the Iceland, as we said, the land area of Virginia, these are the volcanoes, most of the volcanoes here, and this is where we're having our quake swarms right there. The country has the highest literacy rate, 100%. There's about 260,000 people living there total. Its history has been closely related to volcanoes, and knowledge of many volcanic eruptions since the Middle Ages are preserved in accounts. The first settled by Vikings in the 9th century AD, Iceland established its own parliament in 930 and recorded its first historical volcanic eruption a few years later. After a golden age of literature in the 12th and 13th centuries, when the sagas were written, natural history reporting reached a low around 15th century. In the years 1707 to 09, a third of the population died from smallpox, and in 1783 to 84, Laki eruption killed a fifth of the remaining population by famine. Iceland gained sovereignty from Denmark in 1918, completing independence in 1944, and it's noted for subglacial and regional fissure eruptions relating to the rifting process between the separating plates. So it's rifting. It's rifting. Here we are. This is it. Let's go back to this. Rifting, Mid-Atlantic Ridge rifting. It's right there from south to north to south. There's Iceland. It's a plate boundary located along the floor of the Atlantic Ocean, part of the longest mountain range in the world, the North Atlantic. It separates the Eurasian and the North American plates, and the South Atlantic, separating the African from the South American plates. The ridge extends from the junction of the Mid-Arctic Ridge, Gakale Ridge, northeast of Greenland, or here, and southward to the Bouvet Triple Junction in the South Atlantic, here. The section of the ridge that includes Iceland is known as the Reykjanes Ridge. The ridge has an average spreading rate of about 1 inch a year. It's spreading at 1 inch a year. So in 10 years, it's about the size of your foot. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And let's go to this. This is a very nice animation of the Earth spreading. Look at that. Amazing. Yes, our Earth is growing very rapidly in geologic time frames. So, 1 inch a year in Iceland. Discovered the Mid-Atlantic Ocean Ridge. Matthew Fontaine Murray discovered in 1850. The existence of the ridge was discovered during his expedition of HMS Challenger in 1872. A team of scientists on board discovered a large rise in the middle of the Atlantic, and while investigating the future location of the transatlantic telegraph cable, the existence of such a ridge was confirmed by sonar in 1925 and was so found to extend around Cape Agulhas to the Indian Ocean by German meteor expedition. Okay, notable features, we saw this before. The rift valley running along the axis of the ridge along its entire length. This rift marks the actual boundary between adjacent tectonic plates where the magma and the mantle reaches the seafloor, erupting as lava and producing new crustal materials for the plates. So that's what's happening here. And let's go here to see what is happening with our, okay, we saw the island. Let's go see the shake map. What's happening with the shake map intensity? USGS has given us the intensity. I would venture to say the whole island has shaken, because when we had the 5 point something yesterday, the whole island shook, so obviously it's going to shake the whole island now. Let's go to aerial. Okay. And if you, if you extrapolate the shake intensity, obviously the whole island shook. Okay. There you go. That's it. Right on the tectonic fracture. So that's it with Iceland. I don't know which volcanoes are erupting there. Reykjanes is not erupting, but I wouldn't be surprised if we also have some kind of a magma refilling here, because of course it's a rift area. This whole thing, it's a hot spot. There's a mantle plume underneath. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.